Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm getting ready to head out on a 10-day trip here out to the Midwest. The first part of the trip I'll be going out to Uranus and Waynesville, Missouri for the 5 Dirty Bikers meetup. I hope to see some of you guys there. I know some of you have reached out and said you're going to be there. Can't wait to meet you. And for those that I've met before, can't wait to see you again and ride with you. It's going to be a great time. If you'd like more information about the 5 Dirty Bikers meetup, then head over to 5dirtybikers.com and check out the page we have on FDBM. You'll get all the information there. It's not too late. Make your hotel reservation or your campground reservation and get your ass out to Missouri. So anyway, I know the first part of the trip, that's where I'm going. The second half of the trip, I have no clue which way I'm going to come back. I only know two things. I know the day I need to be back here at the house, and I know that it's going to be hotter than hell. Looks like it's going to be in the 90s as I'm riding back and forth across the country, which means I'm going to be catching a lot of heat from the rear cylinder of this lovely M8 engine. So I thought today I'd do a quick mod to try to do something about the amount of heat coming off that rear cylinder up to my thigh. And I'm going to do that by installing from Advanblack a Vivid Black mid-frame heat deflector. That'll go right about there. So first off, this is not a sponsored video. Advanblack did not provide these to me. Actually, they've never given me anything. Oh, nope, I take that back. I did ask them one time about which bag liners I should order for my saddlebags because I wanted to do a video and a review on them, and they kindly sent me the link where I could order them myself. So I did get the link free. But I got these on my own, so this is definitely not a sponsored video. Let's take a look at what you get in the box with these mid-frame air deflectors. You get 4 bolts. You'll need a 7/16 socket and or wrench. Actually, I think you're going to need both. For those, you get 4 washers that go with the bolts. You get 2 threaded barrel sleeves here that are going to slide into the frame, and I'll show you where those go in a second. And then you get 2 speed nuts, which we're not going to need those here. The speed nuts will be used if you have a model that's prior to 2017. We don't need those. Then you get a fancy Advanblack decal. And then of course you get 2, a right and left mid-frame air deflector. These will only install one way, so you don't really have to worry about putting them on the wrong side. But to know which one goes on the correct side, if you flip the air deflector over, you will see an R or an L embossed in the back of the plastic there. That will tell you whether it's right or left. The right side, as you're setting on the bike, or the throttle side is the right, and then the clutch side is the left. The other thing that you'll notice on the back of the air deflector is there's this little clip here. That's where we're going to slide the spark plug cable into the back of the airframe to keep it lifted off that rear cylinder. Not sure I'll be able to get a photograph of that when I'm actually doing the install, so I'm showing it to you here. So when I start talking about that, that is what we are discussing. Okay, so let's roll the intro. I'm going to get my tools, then we're going to get busy installing these bad boys. Hey, check this out, Shaggy. I finally get to use my new light bar thingy. Check that out. Woo, that's bright. I'll take a couple of close-ups here so you can see in detail what I'm talking about. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to put a bolt through the bottom here and then a bolt through the top of this. It's going to connect on the frame. There's a hole right here on the bottom. And that's where you're going to put this little barrel nut through that hole. It's a hexagon shape, and this barrel will slide right in there. The idea is that once you put this barrel in there and then you put this bolt in, the barrel will expand and will hold inside the frame. But as you can see, what I've done, just to give it a little more friction there, because this is kind of loose when you first put it in, is I've actually put a little plumber's tape around the outside of that barrel. And then I'm going to slide it right in there. And then we'll put the bolt through this piece and then up into that barrel nut. The other bolt is going to go right up here. Where'd it go? Right there. There's actually a nut that's welded into the frame right there. So that bolt should screw right in to hold that in place. And again, I'll take a little close up and throw that up here. But before we get to that point, what we want to do is we want to remove these clips or declip these spark plug cables. Now, I had the performance spark plug cables installed on my bike when I took delivery. So mine may be a little different than yours. I have a little zip tie holder there that's punched up into the frame, and then I have one up here. You probably only have one or the other. You probably don't have two. And you can jerk on these, and you can pry those out, or you can take a pry bar or a little pry tool. This is just a little trim tool that I bought when I got my car. And what I'll just do is slide that in and then pop that down to pop these out. So that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to pop these out so I can pull the cables back out of the way. And then we'll switch cameras and we will get a little close-up of what I'm actually doing here and here to get those bolts in. Okay, step one is I'm going to use the pry tool and I'm going to pull these little clips out of the frame there. There's one. There's two. Got a third one back there, but I think that might be okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to find that little hex hole right there. And then we're going to take the little barrel nut and we're going to work that in, get that aligned properly. Now see, that's not as loose. It's still a little loose, but because of that plumber's tape, we're okay. And I think it's probably going to be easier to get this top one in before the bottom. So I'm going to try to, first off, do a dry fit, make sure these holes line up right. And they do. It's going to line up with the bottom one there. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to thread this in through first on this top one. You want to put a little blue Loctite on that bolt. Okay, that's threaded in, and while I'm under here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clip this, this spark plug cable into that little clip. Make sure that stays off the rear cylinder. Take a little blue Loctite, put on this bolt. And I'm going to put this right in through that barrel nut. So those are in. You can see how this covers. Obviously it's loose. I'm going to tighten this up, but you can see how that, once it's tight, it's set up like that, and it will protect that heat from coming up. So you don't need to watch me wrench this. Again, it's a 7/16 wrench or socket or both. I think we're probably going to need both. Might need an extension to reach up to that top bolt. Whoops, I forgot to put the washers on the bolt, so I had to take them off and put the washers on. You definitely want to use the washers so that that'll help you not crack the plastic on the heat deflector if you happen to tighten it a little too much. All right, there we go. The right side is on. What do you think? I think that looks nice. Just a little gap here between the heat deflector and the rear cylinder head. That looks really nice. That'll keep that heat from coming directly up onto my thigh. And like I said earlier, I believe that because I don't have lowers on the front, a lot of wind will come this way in the bike, and that should help scoop some air and then circulate it back behind that rear cylinder head to help cool it a little bit. Okay, so a couple of things. One, don't over tighten those two bolts. I've heard people say, yeah, you know what, I'm not even going to throw it up here because I don't know if they're right or not as far as the torque specs on that, but make sure you use the washers to spread that surface force out. And then blue Loctite, obviously, keep the bolts from working their way out. get it good and tight, and you should be good to go. So we'll do the same process over on the other side, and then we'll come back and wrap up. Oh, sweet little baby Jesus, come on. You know, why is it always, it seems always, those little jobs that are supposed to take 10 or 15 minutes always end up going hinky. I don't know what it is. I went on the other side of the bike to do the throttle side install, or the clutch side install, left side of the bike. And that little nut that's welded into the frame was jacked up. Absolutely no way to get a bolt threaded into that thing. I don't have anything here to retap it. To be honest with you, when you go to do the clutch side install, there's very little room. I'd say maybe a quarter of the room you have on this side to get in there and work with getting those bolts in. I don't think you could get a tapping tool in there to even fix that. So what I ended up doing was taking a zip tie, tying that baby into place. I think that'll hold. We'll definitely find out on this 10-day trip. But I've got it in. Both sides are on. Fingers crossed that that's going to hold. And I guess next time I put my bike in for service, I'll say something to the techs and see if they've got maybe a way to retap that little nut in the frame, and we'll get it fixed the way it should be. But anyway, the mid-frame heat shields, or heat deflectors, by Advanblack are installed on my 2021 Road Glide Special. So now I can move on to the next thing. And yeah, we're on countdown here. I think by the time this video drops, I'll be maybe 4 or 5 days away from actually leaving on the trip. See you guys in Uranus, Missouri, in about a week. See you there. Peace.